Hi guys, this is Miss Anderson, and we are going to, you and I, write our essay together. Okay, let's go. So the items that you are going to need in order to write your essay is the writing task, which includes the writing prompt and the two passages. You're going to need your how to write your introductory paragraph, your body paragraph example, the conclusion example, and of course you'll need your composition book and a sharpened pencil. Okay, so this is the writing task that you have in your packet, and I'm going to reread it here just so we understand what it is that we are doing. So the first thing they did here was gave you a summary of the two passages, of the topic rather, and it says sound is not only for people who can hear, there are many different ways to experience sound. So that was the topic, that was the point of the two passages, okay? So the first passage was sound, people hear sound, and then the second passage was there's other ways to hear sound. So that's just a summary of the two passages. So now they want you to, the writing task is to think about the ideas in the two passages and then write an explanatory essay that explains the different ways that sound works. And then they also ask you to include evidence from both passages in your essay. Okay, so here are the two passages that we have read and annotated. I am not going to reread them because I think we've read them enough. At least I have. I don't know about you, but I think I know these two passages word for word. But if you need to take the time to read them again, please feel free to do so because you need to be able to follow what I'm saying as I begin to discuss the essay. All right, so these are the things that are included in our introductory paragraph. So right here, go ahead and pull out your how to write an introductory paragraph. These are the body paragraphs that we wrote. So this is the example. So go ahead and take that out so you can be refamiliarizing yourself. Remember, this example that we used was on the raw milk passage. And so we're using this in order to write our new essay, which is this explanatory essay. And then, of course, there is our conclusion paragraph. And so that's actually, that document there actually has our intro paragraph, our two body paragraphs, and our conclusion paragraphs. But the body paragraph highlights it for you so that you can see what each sentence represents. And then the example from the how to write your introductory paragraph, that includes the 5 different ways that you can write your attention grabber. All right, so the first step in writing an essay, and that's any essay, guys, is to read and understand the writing task. Okay, so that's the first thing that you want to do is read and understand the writing task. Okay, because when you understand what you are supposed to do, then once you start actually reading the passages, those things that you need to include in the writing task will jump out at you. I promise you they will. So the next thing you need to do in order to write a great essay is to read the passages. Of course, you're going to read and annotate them, and you're going to take notes on your scratch paper. You're going to write down the main ideas, the topics, things like that. And then you're going to write down any evidence that you have pulled from the passages. So here's your first task that you're going to do. Open up your composition book and do a page header just like I have it, but of course put the correct date. Okay, you're going to write down the task because this is what you would do if you were taking an actual exam. You would actually write down the writing task. And then after you have read both passages, you would go back in your notes on your scratch paper that you had wrote down the writing task. You would write down the main idea from passage number 1, and you would write down the main idea from passage number 2. Now, let me share something. When I was rereading these two passages, do you know where I found the main idea? I found the main idea in the title of both passages. And it just sometimes, guys, the main idea can be right there in your face. And so this in this case it was. The title was self-explanatory. The passage number 1 title was Sound is All Around Us, and that's completely what the passage was talking about. And then passage number 2, the title was Hearing Does Not Require Ears, and that's exactly what the passage was talking about. So I simply wrote down what the title of the 2 passages. And then I took my evidence or my points that I am going to make from both passages and I wrote those down as well. So go ahead and write these 2 things down underneath your writing task. Your main idea for passage number 1 and 2, and then the evidence from passage number 1 and 2. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that, and then restart the video once you have finished those in your composition book. Okay, so now that you have that information, now you are actually ready to start drafting or writing your essay. So we'll start with the introductory paragraph, okay? And we know that we need an attention grabber. We need to write our topic plus our point. Then we write our preview sentence. We add some background information. And then we add a transition sentence that's going to take the reader to the next paragraph. And then, of course, after we finish writing, and I suggest you do this after every sentence, is you reread your paragraph to make sure that it doesn't have any errors. And if it does, you go ahead and revise and edit it as you need to make it right. And then have someone else read it, okay? It's always a good idea to have someone else read your writing. All right, so now we are on our body paragraph, okay, and we know that we need a transition phrase again. We need our topic sentence, which is going to include our first point. Then we need to cite and pull from the passage and explain our evidence. Then we need to add any other information and include a concluding sentence that's going to transition to the next paragraph. All right, and our last paragraph is our conclusion. And of course, it'll have that conclusion transition phrase like in conclusion or to summarize. Then we're going to connect that conclusion back to the introduction and the thesis. Then we're going to restate our thesis without repeating the same thing. And then we're going to encourage our reader to think. Okay, so you have this down in your composition book. Now it is your turn to write, okay? All right, so I have helped you out a lot here, okay? Because I know this was kind of difficult for you. I am hoping that you will be able to see all of the things that are required in an essay and then hopefully be able to write one at a later time. But for now, you're going to go ahead and you're going to understand the items that are in this essay, and you are going to rewrite my essay, this essay right here in front of you, in your composition book, okay? So you are going to pause the video. You are going to copy this essay into your composition book, okay? So please don't come back and ask me what do you need to do, because I'm going to direct you back to the video, and I am clearly telling you that you are going to write this essay in your composition book, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read it for you just so you can hear it read aloud, okay? And what I want you to do is be thinking or be able to highlight each of the parts in every paragraph, okay? All of the parts that we just talked about. All right, have you ever wondered what life would be like if we humans did not have ears? Would there still be sound as we know it today? Sound is all around us, but I bet you did not know that you do not need ears to hear sound. According to passage 2, humans have the unique ability to communicate through our hearing. However, hearing and understanding are 2 different things. So what I did there was I started with the question, And I used both of the passages. I talked about that we needed ears to hear sound, but then I ended with we do not need, I'm sorry, I ended with hearing and understanding are two different things, okay? So because hearing comes through our ears, but the second point that I'm going to make is that not all animals actually hear, okay, through ears. All right, so that was the purpose in that introduction. All right, let's move on to our body paragraph, okay? To start, sound is made from energy. According to passage 1, energy is released in the form of vibrations. The vibrations are what is received by our ears and sent to our brains for processing. It is our brains that process the sounds into something that we can understand. And since animals have different brains from humans, this may explain why different animals communicate with different sounds. Their brains would turn sound waves into different things. Now, I found that extremely interesting because that would explain why elephants and zebras and tigers all make different sounds, right? And it's because they all have different types of brains. Our Creator gave each animal, including humans, a different type of brain. And so the sounds that we make and the sounds that we hear are very, very different. So I really like that point that I was trying to make is that sound is made from energy and our brains is what processes it. All right, so go ahead, pause the video and write this down in your composition book. Okay, so now we're going to move on to body paragraph number 2 and to our conclusion. Another point to make is that hearing, that's a typo, it's supposed to be hearing, please correct it. Another point to make is that hearing does not always require having ears. Humans and most animals have ears, but some animals do not have ears. Do they not hear sound? According to passage 2, animals such as snakes do not have ears or openings that can take in sound, but they do have parts inside their bodies that are sensitive to the vibrations that sound makes. Their inner ears then translate the vibrations into a sound they are able to recognize. So that's another typo, and that is missing a word there. So let's see. Their inner ears then translate the vibration into a sound. Okay, we'll insert sound they are able to recognize. This shows us that sound is a vibration that can be felt without having ears. Okay, so in that paragraph, my point was that you don't need ears in order to hear sound, and I gave the example of the snake taken from the passage. Okay, so that was my two body paragraphs, and here is my conclusion. In conclusion, sound can be found everywhere. Sound works by forming vibrations in the form of waves, which reaches our ears. Our ears take in the sounds and our brains turn it into beautiful language, music, and sometimes noise. And while we humans have ears in order to hear, animals like snakes feel the vibrations that sound makes, and their brains translate it into something they can understand. Can you hear me now? I'll explain that last question in just a second, okay? Go ahead and put these two paragraphs in your composition book. Okay, so now you have all four paragraphs in your composition book. So that was your first draft, and so now it is time for you to revise and rewrite. So you're going to type it up on in Microsoft Word, just like we've always done. You are going to make sure you fix any errors or make any changes that it needs in order to make it nice and clear. And so this is, and then you're going to give it a title. So remember that last question that I had at the conclusion? That was the title of my essay. So I forgot who I had this discussion with where we could put a question at the beginning, and then in this case, I still had the question at the end. And can you hear me now? Remember that commercial? I don't know if you know from the cell phones, where the guy is talking about how the cell phones, the coverage area. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And so that is a very, very famous commercial that most people will understand when they read that, okay? All right, so this is the final essay. It is all 4 paragraphs put together. I typed it up nice and neatly. If you look at the formatting, there's only one space between the page header and the title, and then each paragraph has a space in between it, and then each paragraph is also indented. And then the title is capitalized, and so I tried to go in and take out as many errors as I could. Okay. So go ahead and type up your essay, reread it out loud. Okay. And then go ahead and turn it in once you are finished. Okay. But make sure you reread it to fix any errors. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.